Ximenez has designed, implemented, coordinated, supervised, and assessed numerous mental health and other community service programs with the Los Angeles County Department of Mental Health, community organizations, CBOs, and other organizations. She's mentored and been a contract liaison with the Los Angeles County Department of Mental Health, multi-million-dollar mental health contracts. She's represented agencies and organizations in countywide and statewide administrative meetings, committees, and initiatives and other efforts. Currently, she has the honor of working full-time at the Community and Government Relations Division, Office of Directors of the Los Angeles County Department of Mental Health. So it's an honor to have Dr. Leticia Ximenez here with us. Thank you.
It's an honor to be here, and I thank you for, our time is one of the most valuable and precious things that we have. And so for you to take the time to come, it's a great honor, and I really appreciate it. And I am here to serve and to do whatever I can to be of service to you. So thank you very much. What I wanted to do, so you heard a little bit about me. I've been a little busy, but I think when you do something that you love, when you do something that is dear and near to your heart, something that gives you meaning and purpose, it doesn't seem like a job, doesn't seem like like work. It's an honor and it's a pleasure, and we do it with great happiness. And so I'm really happy to be here for that. What I wanted to do is just really quickly, just kind of get an idea of who's in the room. And just really quickly, can you just say your name and where you're from? And if you want to tell us anything else, that's fine too. But kind of so I can get an idea. What is it? How many people here are clinicians? Okay, so you guys therapists. Okay, good. And how many people are here case managers? All right, great. And how many administration? Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, wonderful. So, before I get started here, I wanted to just get an idea. When you hear of this, you heard of this this title here, and you may have read a little bit about what it's about on the website. But what is it that brought you to this particular workshop today? There's a lot of different workshops. So what is it that you're hoping to gain? Yes.
Strategies for couples therapy with Mexican American.
Okay, so strategies to help couples do couples therapy. Okay, great. Yes.
I felt the Mexican American part grabbed my attention because there are it's different than couples that come from Mexico. I took that as people who are Mexican but were born in the United States.
Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. Very good. We're a breed of our own in a way, right? Yeah. We're all similar yet different. Yes.
As a title and just the initial thing, background, I like to things I can learn personally for myself. In case manage some of that too, but it's kind of my personal. I don't really believe it's helpful or it can work. I don't want to give that to my clients. So a lot of times I find myself kind of trying out ideas and things for myself or for my own family.
Right. Yes. Actually, so important. So important for us to do that. To really understand, to really know what works, what doesn't work. And the most important thing is that, how we need to know what's ours and what's not ours. Especially if we're doing therapy or if we're doing even case management or even up in the front office, right? It's really important to know who we are and to not take things personally when we're dealing with somebody else, whether it's in the front desk or it's in the therapy session. If we don't know who we are, then it's easy to get ourselves lost in helping others. And that's when boundaries are blurred, that's when we overstep our boundaries, that's when things get crossed, that's when it becomes very, very difficult, and that's when vicarious traumatization, when we vicariously get traumatized because we don't realize the difference and where the boundaries stop and go and continue. So that's, I always highly recommend to know how does this stuff apply? How does it make sense to us? And that's the best way. If we are able to make sense of it, if we understand it, then we will be able to apply it in one way or another. So very good. One more? Anybody else? Or, yes?
I'm the clinical supervisor for children's mental health for 2020.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know if people are aware, there's a big change in the way the Medi-Cal regs and what you're allowed to bill.
Yes.
And what's new is you can now do family therapy and couples therapy, which is something that wasn't allowed or wasn't billed directly, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
That's part of my interest.
Yes. Okay, wonderful. Isn't that great? And many times it's really interesting because this is, as we are educating, we're building capacity in LA County, and as part of our, we have a spirituality initiative that we're spearheading in LA County, and what we're doing is a lot of capacity building, especially in the faith-based organizations and so forth, really so that we can work better together and really create some health neighborhoods in our communities. And one of those reasons is because we have certain limitations. As therapists and as mental health staff, we know that couples therapy is very important, right? As many times seeing children, we say, well, actually the child is the identified patient, but really the problem is what's going on at home many times, right? It's the parents are having difficulties, they're having some relationship issues, and the child is the one that's being identified as being the patient. And you're going, okay, wait a minute, I need to see the parents, I need to see the family, and so forth. So there are times that we can do that, and it's wonderful if we can, or we can refer them to another clinician who can actually see them, and we can see them as a family. But that's not always the case, right? That's not always the case. And so it's really, really important that we know our limitations, and we try to always expand our knowledge and so forth. So the other thing that was not in my bio in there is that I'm actually the founder of Start Again, Not Over. And it's a helping hands organization that helps people through transitions in life and helps them. The whole platform is about helping us go through the different transitions that we encounter in our regular life events, and how do we go beyond that and come out at the other end in a much better place. And so you'll see all my information at the end, and you have it in the handsheet as well, so feel free to check it out. Now, in assisting the growth of the Mexican-American couples, one of the things is that what I did is I created a manual for the clinicians. And in the manual, it's a manual and then also a workbook for the couples themselves. And I try to make the manual as comprehensive as possible so that with the manual you would have everything that you need in the manual, and to explain some of the different topics to the couples, and then also then the workbook, the couples are able to work through different exercises and dealing with the different issues that we'll talk about. And so why did I go to Mexican-American couples? And first of all, one of the main reasons is, the gentleman back there said it very well, and this is something dear and near to my heart. I'm a Mexican-American. My parents are both born in Mexico. I was born in Mexico, actually, so I'm pretty much Mexican, but I got here when I was 6 years old, so I've been here the whole entire time that all my education and everything has been here. And so I thought, this is really interesting to me. And getting my doctorate degree, my focus is on couples therapy. And one of the reasons that I went into couples therapy is because I realized that as we were talking earlier about families and so forth, that if the head of the household, if the unit in the household is doing well, then the family is doing well. If the couple is getting along and being supportive and helping each other and really working as a unit, to make the family a better place, then the children are, usually healthier and more adaptive and, better development and so forth. We see that all the time. And so I always thought, well, yeah, I like to work with children, but I really want to, really work with the parents, and so that, because working with the parents is working with the children, right? It's helping the children as well. Plus, there isn't a lot out there. There isn't that we are doing that. And the other thing too is that when we think about couples, we think about like marriages, or we think about somebody living together and then like kind of a romantic couple. But in reality, couples therapy can be anything. A couple can be any time that we have a relationship with somebody else. That's a couple. And we're talking about relationships. And we are human beings, we are social human beings, and we have a relationship with someone else. And really understanding our relationship with someone else and how that plays out, whether it's within girlfriends or, just a couple of girlfriends together, or, boyfriends and girlfriends, whatever that may be, or the relationship between, mothers and children and fathers and kids and so forth. Any relationship, and when you learn about couples therapy and how to relate with other people, it really serves in everything that we do with all of our relationships. It's really very, very, very helpful. So that was one of the other reasons that I thought was really important to do this. Now, in terms of the Mexican-American couples, and one of the main reasons for this is that, as in terms of the justification, we have over, right now, as of the 2010 census, over 50.5 million Hispanic Americans we're living in the United States. And we're growing really fast, right? We're actually the fastest growing population. And out of those 31.8 million are from Mexican descent, are Mexican origin. So, you see 50 million Hispanics, over 30 million, almost 32 million are Mexican, right? And again, we are the youngest, and we're also the fastest growing population in the nation. So the more that if we help, we understand, and we are able to assist the Mexican-American couples, the more that we will actually really help, not only the families in the Mexican-American couples, but really benefit our nation as a whole. Okay? So some of the challenges that, we've heard them many times here, we know them, that's just the things that we know as a fact, and of course that have been researched. Our Mexican-American couples deal with a lot of things that other mainstream generations and mainstream couples may not be dealing with, or at least not as much. And that is discrimination, oppression, and so forth. And I'm sure I was in actually a few of the, I was very fortunate to be in some of the other workshops. And what kept coming up, right, we talked about the oppression, the discrimination, and the acculturation process. And that's something that we don't learn very much in school. And we don't deal very much as we're seeing families, we don't think about the acculturation process and how that affects the family unit, how that affects the couples. And it's very, very important that we do keep it in mind, because the acculturation process is a very stressful, very, very stressful process. And it creates so much stress that a lot of people don't understand. Because they don't understand the process, they think something is wrong. And it's not that there's something wrong with my partner, it's not that there's something wrong with my relationship, but it's something that I'm dealing with because of the societal problems and the acculturation that I'm going through. If I understand that as a person, then I'm more willing to understand a little bit more and be a little bit more understanding and a little bit more helpful to my partner. So this is something that's really important that you can that it's important for us to teach and to help the Mexican American couples understand this process. It's like you are going through this process that's very, very difficult. It's very, very challenging. But the good thing is that you guys get to do it together. Right? You get to do it together as a unit, and that's a wonderful thing, right? And then that way they understand, okay, now, so this is what's going on, and so forth. Like we were talking about right before, right? We need to understand not only what's ours and what's not ours. When we say ours and not ours, what's actually happening as a society? What are some of the stereotypes? What are some of the things that we're going through that are actually not coming from the relationship? You know, it's not that I don't love you, it's not that you don't love me, it's not that, you know, we're having these different problems as a unit, but we are actually being oppressed, discriminated, and the stressors are coming from the outside. Now, when you see that, you know, when the couple understands that and really understands those pressures that are coming from the outside, then they can see that it's not them, it's not their relationship, right? And that it's something that's from out there, so they can actually, you know, join forces and really support and help each other from those stressors. It really makes a huge difference. Right? It makes a really, really huge difference. Does that make sense? Do you see where I'm going with that? How important that is, right? It's just like, for example, with, you know, I always, every time, you know, when I've done therapy with men, and I always say to them, you know what? It's really hard being a man when the society doesn't allow you to feel. When society doesn't allow you, why is it? And I don't know if you've had the same experience, but you know, you have a man in therapy. Most of the time, the problem is anger. They're angry. They're angry. They're angry. But are they really angry, or are they sad? Right? Are they really angry, or are they anxious? Are they really angry, or they're just depressed? Right? But what happens is that society says a man can only be angry. It's okay for a man to be angry. And therefore, that's the way that they express all the other, you know, all the other feelings, or most of the other feelings. Right? And for them, for men to say, oh, yeah, you know, you're right. I'm not angry. This is really sad. I'm sad that this is happening, you know, whether they verbalize or not. But if they understand that, then they can see, then we can start getting into the root of the problem, right, and really start focusing on what the issue is and really address it. Because if we just work on, well, let me help you work with your anger management. Let me give you anger management skills, and let me show you how to deal with your anger. But it's not anger that's going on. It's actually that this person is being oppressed, discriminated at work, and is feeling, you know, dehumanized. It's feeling humiliated, you know, that sort of thing. And of course, that may cause some anger, but that may also cause some sense of rejection and some sense of sadness and depression. Right? And if we don't deal with that, if we don't understand that, and if we don't help our clients understand that, then we're really, it's kind of a mixed diagnosis. And that's where we can keep going in circles, right? We keep going in circles. So it's really, really important. So that's just an example of some of the things that we work on in this workbook. But the other thing about acculturation that I think was really interesting as I was doing the research is that women acculturate faster than men. Did anybody know that? Because I didn't know that when I was doing my research. I'm like, really? That's interesting. What do you guys think about that? Does that make sense? Did you guys know about that? Maybe I was the only one that didn't know.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
That women acculturate faster than men. Yes?
Maybe because women mature faster than men?
Oh, you hear that a lot, right? Yeah, women mature faster. It takes, yeah, okay, yeah, maybe. I don't know. Yes?
I think, because I came to the United States when I was a little girl too, but I think for women, you get more emotional support. You get the nurturing of like adjusting to the changes. I know my mom really focused on my mom, my sister, and I, rather than my brother who was the oldest, and he was 14. Like, oh, he's not a young man, he can adjust, and he had issues too.
Right, of course.
I think it's the emotional, like, we get more support.
More support. We're allowed to go through that transition. That's really good. Thank you. Yes?
So I'm thinking about my family. So women generally are more fluid with their emotions and, accustomed to shifts and changes. But men are traditionally the providers and work from the land. And so, and And what I've seen is that the men had a hard time leading their work and how they identified in the community,
Yes,
because
yes.
now they have a new community, and what is their role?
Yes.
And,
Those are very good points. And keep those in mind as we go through this, because those are the issues that we deal with here, right? Because you're absolutely right. Men are, their identity is all laid out in what they do, right? In their action, in their jobs and everything. And so when they don't have that job, when they don't have that, then their sense of identity, it's lost, and it's very, very difficult to recuperate. So, yeah, very, very good. Yes?
Yeah, the maestro Jerry Theo,
Yes.
heard him speak at another venue one time.
Uh-huh.
He was quoting research that the Combined Network does.
Oh, yes.
And that he says that as children, that girls are hugged 4 times more often than boys.
Yeah, kind of what you were saying too, right? Girls get that more of the emotional, the support, it's okay, right? And what did Jerry say when Professor Teo said yesterday, right? It's that acceptance, right? If I feel like I'm accepted, like if I'm okay, if you're okay with me changing, then it's going to be easier for me to change. If you're okay, if you accept me while I'm going through this transition and I'm acculturating and I'm finding myself, then it's going to be easier for me to do that, right? But if you ignore me, or you say, well, no, you have to be this way or else, right? If I feel that that your love towards me is conditional, then it's going to be a lot harder for me to acculturate. It's going to be a lot harder for me to find myself, because I don't have that safe space, right? And so this is all about creating that safe space for the couple to really understand each other and what they go through, that it's the same yet different, and to give them that safe space to find who they really are. So more acculturated groups, the more the people are acculturated, the more challenges they have, and it's a lot harder, because what happens is that as they say, women, let's say, acculturate faster, and men may acculturate slower, right? Then what happens is that, well, now we started right here, and now you're up here and I'm down here. And there's no right or wrong or anything. It's just that, we go at different paces, and we all go at our own pace and stuff like that. And that's important for couples to understand that, right? But what happens is that, well, okay, now you want your independence and you want to do things differently, and I want to keep things the same because this is my identity, right? Because I'm afraid to let that go. Because what is that going to mean? Is that because you want to do this, because now you have a different way of thinking, does that mean that you don't love me anymore? Right? So there's a lot of conflict that happens, and these are the things that the couple is dealing with in trying to go through their own acculturation process. One of the things about couples therapy, and it's really, really important, a lot of people think that couples therapy is about us, just dealing with the relationship, right? And yes, that is the case, but you cannot help the relationship. You cannot make any changes if you do not deal with and really handle the couple as individuals. Because it is 2 individuals that come together to make one. If one individual is not doing well, if one individual is having issues or problems or anything like that, then the whole unit is going to have problems. We have to deal with, and it's a way of assisting the individual, the partner, in that relationship, so that both at the same time, so that they can support each other. So it's kind of like doing, many times you find yourself doing kind of individual work, right? Like the individual therapy, but in the presence of the other. Now, that is difficult because it's really hard for me to open up to some really deep-rooted issues, right? Really private issues with somebody else in the room, right? But if I don't feel that I feel safe enough to do that with my own partner, do you think that I'm going to be able to go very far? And I always find it really sad, and one of the things that I like about couples therapy is that, you know, how many times have you had individuals come to you and talk to you about very private, very personal issues, and they say, oh, my wife doesn't know anything about it. Or my husband doesn't know anything about it. Oh, no, I don't want him to find out because this or that, right? It's like, whoa, that's where the problem is, right? That's where the problem is. So that's the good thing, that's the wonderful thing about, very challenging, but that is the wonderful thing about couples therapy. To deal with those issues and help them deal with them as a whole. Now, remember what Professor Teo said yesterday, right? It's about feeling accepted. If I bring my dirty laundry, right, because we always talk about therapy, it's like, oh, I can bring my dirty laundry, right? Well, we are really good at washing, so if we bring our dirty laundry and we can bring it in front of each other, and you can say, you know what, I am really scared. You know, if I have a husband that's saying, you know, I'm really scared because I feel that because you want to go and because you want to go to school now, that you're going to go to school and you're going to become, you know, you're going to get a degree and then you're going to leave me. That makes me scared. It's not that I don't want to support you. I know it's a good thing for you, but if that happens, then I feel that you're not going to want me anymore. And she says, what do you mean? That's why I want to go back to school, because I want to do it for us, right? We make assumptions in relationships. We make assumptions. And it's about bringing those true feelings out. And it's not about the husband not being supportive of the wife or being machista or this or that. No, he's so scared. Right? And that's just an example, but you know where I'm going with them, right? And it's these things that we bring up and as a unit to really help and support and the couple as a whole. So as we're doing that, as a result of and the sense of inequity, when there's the couple feels like there's no balance, then of course there's a lot of tension that happens and so forth, right? So why do we deal with the couple and not the individual? As I was saying before, one of the things also with Mexican American couples is no matter how acculturated they are, right? Or I should say we are, because I'm, no matter how acculturated we are very familial, right? Family is very important to us, for the most part. And again, everybody's different, and we always have to really look at when we, what the couple that's in front of us or the person that's in front of us, and not assume that everybody's going to be the same, because there's a certain acculturation level where I just, as we know, if you're aware of the acculturation different levels, there are certain acculturation levels where I totally, deny my roots, and I associate more with more of the general population, the dominant, we call it the dominant population, and then we kind of go back and forth. And so again, that's important for people to understand. Well, it looks like you're a little bit more on this part of the acculturation level where you want to keep more of your traditions, and you're more in the other level where you're actually trying to find yourself, and as you're trying to find yourself, you think that you have to you have to let go of your traditions. If we understand that, you're like, wow, yeah, that's true. That's exactly how I feel. Okay. But it's, again, we help people understand, we help the couple understand that it's this process that that's going like this, rather than it's not this, right? It's us trying to find ourselves in this acculturation process. Okay? So the way that, of course, as we said before, if the family is doing well, then if the couple is doing well, then the members of the family are going to actually, the protective factors are going to be a lot better. And but if it's not, then we actually have even more risks, right? We end up having risk factors such as, like Teresa was talking about this morning, right? Sometimes even domestic violence, physical, verbal, emotional abuse, all sorts of different things that can come back, that can come from that. So it's really, really important to really deal with that nucleus, with that unit, that family unit. When that nucleus is nice and stable, then the atom, the rest of the unit's going to have a better chance of thriving. So it's really, really important as we're doing this, as we're helping the couple get through this acculturation process, to help them understand maladaptive patterns, things that are hurting each other, things that they may be doing that is actually causing pain or discomfort in the other person, and how to eliminate them, right? And really so that they can be, again, more supportive and more helpful and really deal with that stressors at the acculturation level, okay, with the different transitions. Now, yesterday I did a presentation on, my workshop was about turning loss and grief to loss and gain. Acculturation process, there's so much loss that happens because we're trying to find ourselves, and in finding ourselves and figuring out what we're going to keep from our traditional culture and what we're going to let go of, and what we want to acquire, what we want to gain from the dominant culture, and what we don't want to be part, what we don't want to take in. Right? There are lots of choices, lots of decisions that we have to make. And we do that all the time. We just don't realize that we're doing that. And the more that we understand what's going on, that what's happening, what we are accepting, what we're letting go of, the better we will be able to deal with the transitions and the grieving process that happens. And my whole premise in my workshop and in my website and in my business with Starting Again Not Over is all about every transition in life. Really every choice, every decision we make, there's a loss and there's a gain. And whenever there's a loss, there's a grieving process. And that grieving process, if the decision is really minimal and so forth, then the grieving process may not be as intense, or it may not last very long. But nevertheless, there's a grieving process that happens with that. And I truly think that is one of the main reasons that people have difficulty with change. It's because they don't realize that they're going through this grieving process. It's hard for me to let go of something. And if I don't understand that that's what's happening, then I'm not able to move past the grieving process, and I get stuck. And when I get stuck, then I don't thrive, I don't survive, and then I'm unhappy. And then my partner is unhappy too. Right? So it's really, really important as we're doing this work to really help the couple understand the acculturation process, the grieving process, all these things that are happening that they're dealing with, and it's just so amazing. I always tell people, it's like, wow, you have any idea what you're doing? Look at all these things. That takes a lot of courage. It really takes a lot of strength. And we feel like, no wonder I'm so exhausted, right? No wonder I'm so exhausted. Yeah. But you know what? With couples therapy, you get to do it together. And what a wonderful thing that is, to get to grow as a human being together, being supported by each other. Right? That's the beauty of it. So, of course, one of the things and the reason that I created this manual and the workbook is also because, as we know, it's difficult to engage people, to engage the Mexican-American couples in particular in therapy. How many Mexican-American couples do we get to see? Many times we don't get to see them unless there's a child, right? And we say, you know what, I need you to come in because, as a hook, right? So that we can help your son or your daughter and so forth, right? We have that identified patient. Sometimes we get to do it that way. Yes?
Yeah, I have I remember working with children and they were divorced, and the two children were having a difficult time in school. Their grades were dropping and behavior, they were misbehaving, and I had a talk with the couple, with the parents, and I told them, you know, you need to stop this for the kids because it's just affecting them. You know, one thing is you're no longer a couple, but you don't stop being parents and you need to parent. And after that, the behavior changed in the kids.
And you know, that's really important what you just said, because sometimes, you know, couples are going through all of these things, you know, they're having all these issues and everything, and it's really hard to see beyond ourselves. It's really hard to see beyond the problems, the issues that are going on, and see how it's affecting everybody else. And sometimes it just takes just that. Saying, you know what, the things that you're doing to each other, the way that you guys are talking to each other and so forth, it's really affecting your kids, right? It's really affecting your family as a whole, as a unit. And it's really scaring them, or this or that, whatever the case may be. And sometimes, you know, I always say, it's really hard to know that you are, you know, in a novela, right? If you're in the novela, and you don't know how, you know, you're not aware of everything else out there, because the drama and all the things that are going on, right? It's really hard to see what's actually happening, you know, outside the novela and everything. That's what I love. If you haven't read Don Miguel Ruiz, how many of you guys have read Don Miguel Ruiz, The Four Agreements, Los Cuatro Acuerdos? Yes, the Toltec Wisdom. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. You can get it in Spanish, you can get it in English, and I mean, I think it's been translated in so many different languages. But one of the things is that, you know, he talks about the Four Agreements and also the Fifth Agreement. All of their books are just amazing. I highly recommend all of them. One of his sons wrote the 5 Levels of Attachment. For all of you guys doing therapy and everything, I highly recommend that book too. It's a very different twist to attachment that's really, really, really good. But one of the things that he talks about is that, you know, we are in our own story. We are in our own story. We're in our own movie. And many times we don't realize that we are in our own movie. And that my movie, what you see, may not be what I think you see. But unless I understand that, then I don't know how it's affecting everybody else or what everybody else thinks. But more importantly, I also don't understand that if I'm in my own movie, I am the actor, I am the producer, I am the director, I am everything of my own movie. And if I act, produce, direct, and do everything with my movie, I have total control of what happens in my movie. So, highly recommend that. But, so thank you, very good. So, it's really, really important for us in order to really help the Mexican